The Galactic Council's Grand Assembly Hall on New Syrith Prime was a monument to diplomacy and civilization, a domed sanctuary where arguments echoed but wars were averted, where races snarled at one another behind carefully composed smiles, and where the illusion of universal peace was painted with words thinner than air. And on that day, the illusion shattered the moment a Terran ambassador stopped smiling. It began with posturing, dull, predictable, ceremonial, a dance of superiority performed by the Varnak Dominion, a reptilian species known less for wisdom and more for their astonishing arrogance. They had introduced Resolution 7B, a galactic trade embargo that would block Terran cargo from 63 border systems, all based on vague accusations of Terran interference and militaristic encroachment. The humans, those quiet, overly courteous apes, had attended every preliminary hearing, corrected every minor oversight, responded to every accusation with respectful documentation and irrefutable data, and had still been ignored. The moment the lead Varnak delegate, Arkex the Scaled, stood and proclaimed, "We must curb the spread of Terran influence before it becomes a contagion," the air in the hall changed. The soften of interspecies translators paused, recalibrated, then resumed with a whispering tension. Ambassador Elena Vos of Earth rose slowly, a smile still sculpted on her face, eyes calm, hands folded, her posture textbook politeness. But for those who knew humans, the silence was thunder. "We are disappointed," she began, voice even, controlled, "that the Dominion continues to cloak fear in the robes of policy. Our presence has always adhered to Council law. The embargo is based on fiction." Arkex hissed through his frilled jowls. "Then perhaps your fictions have teeth, Ambassador. Your colonies expand where none are needed. Your ships remain near sovereign borders. You interfere with local cultures under guise of aid." The crowd murmured. Others watched, intrigued. Humans rarely escalated. Ambassador Voss's expression didn't flicker. "You speak of borders as if space is a line drawn in the sand. Yet when our freighters deliver vaccines, water reclamation tech, or food synthesis, your empire profits. Strange that our interference grows your GDP." The Varnak snapped. "You dare condescend? The Council must act." The chamber turned to the tri-chair, a rotating position of neutrality currently held by an Altari, a species so ancient their words echoed before they were spoken. "Earth," said the Altari chair softly. "Does the Terran Confederation wish to offer a final appeal before we vote?" Elena Vos didn't speak right away. She opened a slim silver case from her diplomat's pouch and placed a small Terran device onto the table before her. A simple cube. Its side shimmered. A whisper of recognition passed through several technologically aware species. It was a passive archival relay, recording everything. The Varnak blinked. Vos leaned slightly forward, her voice quiet but sharp. "This device has been recording every negotiation, including the back-channel messages from Dominion envoys offering to lift the embargo for exclusive access to Terran weapon contracts. You said we were encroaching. You wanted to buy our guns." The entire chamber fell silent, then exploded with cacophony of translator-filtered voices. Vos continued, louder, "We refuse because humans prefer peace. We refuse because we believe diplomacy is stronger than debt. But the Dominion's deception insults not just Earth, but this Council." Arkex slammed his hand down, claws digging into the marble. "This is fabrication. An engineered display to shift blame." Vos nodded slowly, exhaled, then tapped the cube. A voice, the unmistakable guttural lilt of Varnak Noble, crackled to life. "Give us your phase." 9 plasma arrays on the table, and this embargo dies in subcommittee. There was no mistaking it. Not a simulation. The hall froze as the voice looped once, then stopped. Vos picked up the cube, placed it back in her pouch, and looked up, not with a smile this time, not even the shadow of one. "Let me be clear," she said, every syllable measured like a blade drawn from its sheath. "Humanity has smiled through your insults. We've bitten our tongues when you labeled us unpredictable deathworlders. We've played by your rules, signed your charters, funded your relief efforts, and offered you our discoveries for free. In return, we've been mocked, marginalized, and now this coordinated embargo." The calm in her voice was gone. Her eyes were steel now. That was polite mode. It is now off. Her Terran security attaché, a quiet man who had said nothing all meeting, suddenly stood, placed a data slate on the bench, and began uploading files to the Council network. "What is this?" barked Arkex. Vos didn't look at him. "Proof of the following. 1. Dominion forces have established illegal plasma mining colonies on the moons of Kalen 9 inside neutral zones. 2. Varnak agents sabotaged a peace summit on Surat Prime last cycle to frame Terran operatives. 3. Intercepted messages proving the Dominion intends to deploy cloaked ships near Terran border stations next quarter." The Council gasped as file after file lit up the holoscreens around the chamber. Images, logs, timetables, maps, intercepted messages, Dominion fleet placements. Vos raised her voice over the chaos. "Earth is done asking for fairness. We demand justice. You wish to vote on the embargo? Then vote. But understand this. The day your sanctions pass is the day every Terran ship stops supplying your medical corridors, your famine zones, your war-shattered border worlds." She leaned into her mic. "And if a single Varnak ship enters a Terran system without clearance, it will not leave." The silence that followed was suffocating. Even the Altari chair, whose expressions moved slower than tectonic plates, now looked alarmed. Arkex tried to speak, but choked on the air. Vos turned slightly. "Politeness is a choice. So is peace. Don't mistake our restraint for weakness." The Altari chair stood slowly, eyes heavy with centuries. "The Council will recess for judgment." But the chamber didn't move. Delegates stared at the human, some with fear, some with a dawning respect, because in that moment they understood Earth hadn't changed. They had just watched a mask come off. The vote never happened. The embargo motion was withdrawn quietly the next cycle. Arkex was recalled to the Dominion for health reasons, and whispers suggested his fleet commission was revoked. And as for Earth, their trade routes surged. Requests for Terran diplomacy and military aid doubled. Their polite mode had returned, soft smiles, warm voices, willing help. But those who had been there remembered what hid beneath it. They had seen the moment the facade dropped, the moment a human stopped pretending. And from that day forward, every ambassador, every captain, every chancellor in that chamber knew one unshakable truth. If you force a human to stop smiling, you better pray they never start walking toward you, because polite mode turning off wasn't a threat. It was a warning. Ask ChatGPT.